The Dayton Agreement, signed in 1995, ended the brutal Bosnian War. It offered hope for peace but also created a complex political system, dividing Bosnia into two entities, Republika Srpska and the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina. This division entrenched ethnic divisions and led to a weak central government. Decision-making became bogged down in ethnic politics, hindering progress. The two entities operated with significant autonomy, fueling separatist sentiments within Republika Srpska. The Dayton Agreement's legacy is one of both peace and paralysis. It ended the bloodshed but failed to foster genuine reconciliation or a shared national identity. The international community largely overlooked the agreement's flaws. Today, those flaws are glaringly apparent as Bosnia teeters on the brink of a new crisis. The future of Bosnia hinges on addressing the shortcomings of Dayton. A lasting solution requires moving beyond ethnic divisions and fostering a shared vision for the country. Whether such a vision is possible in a nation haunted by its past remains to be seen. Republika Srpska, one of the two entities created by the Dayton Agreement, has long harbored secessionist aspirations. For many Bosnian Serbs, the RS represents a distinct political and cultural entity, separate from the rest of Bosnia. This sentiment, fueled by wartime grievances and nationalist rhetoric, has driven the entity's leadership to pursue an assertive agenda. Milorad Dodik, the longtime leader of the RS, has been the most vocal proponent of secession. He views the RS as a sovereign state unjustly bound to Bosnia. Dodik's rhetoric, often inflammatory, has resonated with many Bosnian Serbs who feel marginalized within the current political system. Dodik's actions have matched his words, consistently challenging the authority of the central government and the international community. His government has boycotted state institutions and withdrawn from key central institutions like the army and judiciary. These actions represent a clear attempt to undermine Bosnia's sovereignty and pave the way for eventual independence. Milorad Dodik, a towering figure in Bosnian politics, is both admired and feared. To his supporters, he is a defender of Serb interests. To his detractors, a dangerous demagogue. Regardless of perspective, Dodik's influence on Bosnia's trajectory is undeniable. Dodik's political career has steadily drifted towards ethno-nationalism and separatism. He first rose to prominence during the Bosnian War, serving in the parliament of Republika Srpska. After the war, he initially positioned himself as a moderate, advocating for cooperation with the international community. However, this moderation proved short-lived. Sensing an opportunity to exploit ethnic tensions, Dodik embraced a more confrontational approach. He began to openly challenge the authority of the High Representative and the central government. Dodik's popularity soared, and he was elected president of Republika Srpska in 2002, a position he has held, with a brief interruption, ever since. The year 2023 marked a turning point in Bosnia's fragile peace. Milorad Dodik, the firebrand leader of Republika Srpska, was indicted on charges of undermining the constitutional order. The charges stemmed from his ongoing efforts to challenge the authority of the central government and the High Representative. The indictment sent shockwaves through Bosnia. Dodik denounced the charges as politically motivated and vowed to fight them. His defiance rallied his supporters, raising tensions across the country. In February 2025, Dodik was found guilty and sentenced to prison, also banned from holding public office. The verdict emboldened him. He refused to recognize the court's authority. The RS National Assembly, dominated by his allies, passed legislation barring state-level judiciary and law enforcement from operating within the entity. National police officers were ordered to leave Banja Luka, the capital of Republika Srpska. These actions, a direct challenge to the Dayton Agreement, plunged Bosnia into its deepest crisis since the war. The crisis in Bosnia has exposed deep divisions within the international community. The United States and the European Union, while condemning Dodik's actions and imposing sanctions, have struggled to formulate a coherent response. Their hesitancy stems from a fear of escalating the situation and the absence of a clear strategy to rein in Dodik. Russia has emerged as Dodik's staunch defender, viewing him as a bulwark against Western influence in the Balkans. Moscow has blocked attempts to impose further sanctions on Dodik at the United Nations Security Council. Serbia, bound by close historical and cultural ties to Republika Srpska, has also been sympathetic to Dodik's cause. While stopping short of endorsing secession, Belgrade has provided Dodik with political cover and economic assistance. Serbia's stance has further complicated the international response, highlighting the regional dimensions of the crisis. The divisions within the international community have created a sense of paralysis, emboldening Dodik and raising fears that the situation could spiral out of control. Bosnia stands at a crossroads, the specter of renewed conflict looming large. The outcome of the current crisis remains uncertain, with a range of potential scenarios unfolding. Each scenario carries its own set of risks and implications for the fragile peace in the Balkans. Scenario 1: stalemate and continued instability. One possible outcome is a protracted stalemate. Dodik, emboldened by the international community's tepid response, may continue to defy the central government and chip away at the Dayton Agreement. This scenario would lead to continued instability, economic stagnation, and the erosion of trust between Bosnia's communities. Scenario 2: negotiated settlement. Another possibility is a negotiated settlement. Under this scenario, Dodik and the international community would engage in dialogue, seeking a compromise that addresses some of Republika Srpska's grievances while preserving Bosnia's territorial integrity. Such a settlement would require significant concessions from both sides and a willingness to compromise. Scenario 3: renewed conflict. The most dangerous scenario is a descent back into violence. While unlikely in the short term, the possibility of renewed conflict cannot be discounted. Dodik's actions have inflamed ethnic tensions, and any miscalculation or provocation could ignite violence. Understanding the current crisis in Bosnia requires delving into the country's turbulent history. For centuries, Bosnia has been a crossroads of empires and ethnicities, a volatile mix that has often erupted into violence. The ghosts of the past weigh heavily on the present, shaping perceptions and fueling mistrust. Bosnia's strategic location in the heart of the Balkans made it a coveted prize for empires. After centuries of Ottoman rule, Bosnia came under Austro-Hungarian control in the late 19th century. The Austro-Hungarian period saw the rise of nationalism among Bosnia's diverse communities: Serbs, Croats, and Bosnian Muslims. Following World War I, Bosnia became part of the newly formed Kingdom of Yugoslavia. However, ethnic tensions persisted, exacerbated by the country's centralized political system. During World War II, Bosnia was occupied by the Axis powers, and its territory became a battleground between the Chetniks, the partisans, and the Ustaše, unleashing a wave of ethnic cleansing and atrocities. After the war, Bosnia became a republic within the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, under the leadership of Josip Broz Tito. Tito's communist government pursued a policy of brotherhood and unity, suppressing nationalist sentiment and promoting a Yugoslav identity. The High Representative for Bosnia and Herzegovina, an internationally appointed position created by the Dayton Agreement, has become a focal point of controversy. Tasked with overseeing the civilian implementation of the Dayton Agreement, the High Representative wields significant power, including the authority to impose laws and remove elected officials. While intended to ensure compliance with the Dayton Agreement, the High Representative's broad powers have often been perceived as undemocratic and heavy-handed. Critics, particularly in Republika Srpska, argue that the High Representative's actions have undermined Bosnian sovereignty and fueled resentment. One of the most contentious aspects of the High Representative's mandate is the so-called Bonn powers. These powers, granted in 1997, allow the High Representative to dismiss elected officials and impose laws without the consent of Bosnia's elected institutions. The High Representative's actions, while sometimes necessary to maintain stability, have also contributed to the current crisis. The crisis in Bosnia serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of peace. Decades after the Dayton Agreement, the country remains deeply divided, haunted by the legacy of war and burdened by a dysfunctional political system. Finding a path forward will require courage, compromise, and a willingness to confront the ghosts of the past. The international community has a crucial role to play in diffusing the crisis. A unified and resolute response is needed to deter further escalation and demonstrate that defiance of the Dayton Agreement will not be tolerated. However, sanctions and pressure alone will not suffice. A lasting solution requires addressing the underlying issues that drive the conflict. This means tackling Bosnia's dysfunctional political system, fostering economic development, and promoting reconciliation between its communities. Bosnia's leaders must move beyond ethnic politics and work together to build a shared future. The future of Bosnia and the stability of the Balkans hangs in the balance.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.